Hey all, and welcome back to my channel. Today is a bit different. I have a story time video for you today instead of a normal vlog. And yeah, a couple disclaimers before we start. First, this video is going to talk a bit about a traumatic experience and also traumatic experiences related to travel. So if those are things that are triggering for you, I'd encourage you to click off or wait until you're ready to listen. Anyways, let's get into it. So it was about a couple months ago. I was traveling back from visiting some family, and my mom and my aunt, they dropped me off at the airport, and I was just going about my normal business. You know, you check in your bags, you make sure you have your boarding pass, and you head up to go through security. And so I remember when I got to security, I was kind of excited because no one really likes going through security, but there was no line, and usually that's the stressful part of am I gonna make it in enough time, right? You want to make your flight, and there was no one in line, and I went up and did the normal, take your electronics out. After my bags were all on, I went to the x-ray machine, you know, the one where you have to put your hands up and assume this weird position, and I did that. And then as I'm coming out of the x-ray machine, the security person asked me to step to the side to wait for your results. So I stepped to the side, and then the other security person who was working there said, I need you to take a look at the screen. And so I turned around and she's showing me this screen. It's like a person, which is supposed to be me, I guess. And there was some yellow areas marked, and she shared that yellow areas are areas they have to check out before you can go through security. And I was like, okay. And so the yellow areas happened to kind of be in my groin area, and she said that she would have to pat me down in that area if I wanted to keep going, if you want to go get on your plane or whatnot. And at this point, my anxiety is already a bit high because travel makes me nervous, and I get anxious around people who want to be in your space and feel the need to put their hands on you. So I asked if I could go through the scanner thing again, and she said no. And then she asked me if I was wearing a belt or if I had something in my pockets, and I had no belt, no pockets. Yeah, I was just wearing a dress. So sometimes I wish more of my dresses had pockets, but this particular dress did not. And so she said, well, I'm going to pat you down before you can keep going. And I just kind of froze. I didn't really say anything, and just remember feeling very uncomfortable. And she reached out her hand to touch me, and then she said, oh wait, I need to get someone before I do this. And I was like, what? And remember thinking okay, first it was just me and security. Now there's a line building up, and there are people coming through the scanning machine waiting for their results that she has to check. And so it's just starting to get more crowded and more people, and she wanted to add another person to this situation, which just no. And she brought over another security guard who happens to be a male security guard, and she said he needs to observe me touching you. So now everyone's watching, right? And my heart is racing and my hands are shaking, and she proceeds to touch me in areas that one should really have permission before touching you in. And just saying that if you want to get on your airplane to go through, to me, is not permission to touch you in spaces that are your own personal spaces. And but at the same time, when you're going through that kind of situation, you're not thinking how do I fix this, how do I make this better, how do I not make her touch me. You're just my brain froze and everything was just freaking. So she started touching me and did her thing or whatever she needed to do. And she said, oh yeah, you're clear, nothing goes on your body, you know, because I hadn't just told her that I didn't have anything on my body. But he then said, you're free to go. And at this point, my heart is pounding, my hands are shaking, and I'm just, yes, mid panic attack, I guess. And trying to go find my bags, which are now not exactly on the belt because so many people have come through during this process. And I found my things, and I went and I sat in this chair at the end of TSA because at this point the tears started, and like everything was just meltdown mode, I guess. Like, I have a previous traumatic experience in my life that involved touching in those same areas, and so this experience going through security, which for many is a normal day-to-day travel experience, is very traumatic for me, because all I could think while she was doing this and as I'm leaving security is she's touching me where he touched me. And that's just playing over and over in my head, and of course that's not helping you calm down in your panic. It's just like increasing this panic. And so I tried to like switch the narrative, which is really hard to do, but can sometimes help me. And in the past I've heard this quote or statistic, which I'm not sure if it's true at all, but someone said it and it just kind of stuck for me, is that your full-on panic mode cannot last longer than 20 minutes. I don't think that's true as someone who's experienced panic longer than 20 minutes, but for me in a moment of panic to be able to say 20 minutes, just 20 minutes, is comforting, because in my mind it's like, this is never gonna stop, right? So I kind of switched from saying that narrative of her touching me where he touched me, and I switched it to 20 minutes. Like, you can do this, it's 20 minutes. And so I'm just sitting in this chair repeating 20 minutes and trying to breathe and trying to control the shaking and the tears. And at this point my mom is texting me, because we have this thing in our family when anybody travels, whether we're together or not, that you text when you get to security, you text when you get out of security, you text when you get to your gate, you text when you get on the plane, like you text when you land, like, you know, just keep each other updated on what's happening. And I couldn't text back because I couldn't stop shaking long enough to text. And so I called my mom, and she's my mom, so she knows when things are not okay. And I'm just trying to like form words to tell her what's happening. And all I could think and all I could say was, she touched me where he touched me. And like, well, what do you mean? Well, she touched me. Like, she touched me where he touched me. And she went into full mom mode at that moment, trying to give me all these tips to like calm down and ways to breathe and chill, and have you got to your gate, and have you got some water, and like, you know, all the total mom things to do that I can't remember because I was in too full-on panic to focus on any of that. And so I managed to like listen to her and to kind of breathe a little bit more, and slowly like the tears are stopping a little bit, and got myself to the bathroom to kind of like clean up, because, you know, it's not pretty. Your makeup's spreading and it was just a mess. And still like panicking, and at this point like it's more than 20 minutes, which I know panic is gonna last longer than 20 minutes, but for some reason that is comforting to me at times. And she's texting and she's calling to like, are you okay, to keep checking on me. And I just remember like thinking I need her, like I can't do this by myself. And I said, what do you need? Like, I'll come back to the airport, you could come through security. And I was like, I'm not going back through, because if you go back through security, then an exit, then you're gonna have to go back through again to get on this airplane. And one traumatic through security experience was enough for me today. I am not doing that again. And so I texted her and I just said, like, can you come home with me? I said, let me see what I can do. And then of course I'm panicking, like, no, don't, like, please, I don't want to ruin your day or your travel, and you know, yeah, me. And I found my way to my gate, and I just sat in a chair and just was trying to control some breathing and not really being successful at that. And the tears are going and just still full panic mode. And I just remember people just walking by, and everyone has to like stare at the girl who's crying, right? In the future, I think I'm gonna try to make a video to talk about what you do when you see someone in this kind of like panic mode, because there was a lot of things that happened that didn't help the panic situation. Story for another time. But one thing that was really nice was this older lady was traveling with a child, and they sat down next to me, and she could tell that I wasn't okay, and she came over and checked on me and asked if there's anything she could do. And I just found that really comforting, that amidst this sea of people who are like fully staring at you and making you feel even more uncomfortable, that she took the time out of her travel experience to come and ask if I was okay. And that's something you do. That's a good something. But anyways, at this point, my mom had called and said that she was coming, and I don't know how she did it to this day, but I'm just very grateful she did. So I'm able to be a little more calm because I know that she's coming and I'm not going to be alone. And she's texting me that she's through security and she's on her way, and the gate and everything. And I'm just really grateful that she was there, because this was a panic moment that I couldn't do by myself, and that's okay. I'm learning that that's okay. I'm still struggling with it, but sometimes you can't do it on your own. But yeah, she came and met me, and then she wanted to go to the ticket counter to see if we could board together. So we were flying on Southwest, which if you haven't flown Southwest, they board by groupings, and it's open seating. And so of course I had a different grouping than she did, because you get your grouping based on when you check in for your flight. And we wanted to get on at the same time. So we're trying to ask this guy at the ticket counter, and he, after we talked for a while, explained that they are very aware of anxious and nervous flyers. He didn't fully know what was going on with me, and I respect the fact that he didn't pry into my personal story, but knew that it would be helpful for my mom and myself to board early, to have extra time, and to do it together. And so they honored that and respect that and did not charge extra for that, which is so very kind for them to be aware that sometimes travel is harder for people than others. Yeah, and so just throwing that out there for any of you who may struggle with flying, that is one thing that I've learned that can be helpful. And so my mom was able to board with me and just kind of like took care of me throughout the flight until she like passed me off to my dad, and then she flew back. So I've chosen to share my story today because I think it's helpful to share stories of anxiety and PTSD struggles, because I don't want people to feel alone. A lot of this journey that I've been on in working through PTSD is that I feel alone in a lot of things, and people don't always understand. And I want people to know, like, you're not alone, that these experiences are real and that other people have them too. Also because travel is such like a normal thing that people do, and I don't think that people always recognize that for some of us it's harder than it is for others. And when you are in line at the airport and you're going through security, and just to know that like it's not that easy for some of us, and that we are carrying things that you can't necessarily see. I think that's the hardest thing when dealing with mental health, is like you can't see what I'm dealing with. So like I don't have a cast, my arm's not broken, like but at the same time I'm struggling and I'm trying to work on things, but you physically can't see those things that I'm working on. And so like when I'm going in through security, like I may just look like you're a normal everyday person going through security, but you don't know what I'm carrying in my brain and like inside, things that I'm carrying with me besides my physical luggage that I'm taking to the airport. And yeah, so just be mindful of those around you and the way others are experiencing this travel experience. Thank you for listening to my story today. I am going to link a resource I found on the TSA website that I hope will be helpful to anyone else who struggles going through TSA at the airport. I have also made a decision to fly again, and I'm feeling a bit nervous about it still, but it's one of those things that like I love to travel and I love to visit people and I love new experiences, and most of that has to happen via being on an airplane. So like avoiding TSA is really just not in it for me, I guess, even though inside everything is screaming like just don't do it. I'm working on being ready to do it again, so I've booked a flight for next month and I will take you along somehow and share that experience with you. I hope to keep sharing stories of my experiences of working through things, because I want it to be seen more as a normal thing, and like that we don't have to hide and keep these things to ourselves, and that other people are going through similar situations and it's okay. We are where we are in our story and our experience, and yeah, we are going to work through that at a pace that works for us, in a way that works for us. And yeah, so this is my story that I'm sharing with you. I would encourage you to like this video and subscribe if you would like to see more, and comment below if you have any other resources that are helpful, or any experiences you feel like you would like to share in the comments below with me or with others. That would be appreciated. But thanks for watching. Bye.